Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Beverly Moore. I am the president of the BDPA Detroit chapter, and I'd like to really welcome you to our June our June program meeting. And I would like to introduce our presenter this afternoon, and I'm very excited and proud to be able to present him for our organization. His name is James Miller. He is an HP Fellow, and he is the Industry Chief Technologist for the Energy, Manufacturing, Communication, Industry, and Entertainment. He's in the HP's Enterprise Services business area, which is also the business area that I work for. His responsibilities include building key client relationships, advising senior leadership on technology, trends and innovations, and providing strategic oversight and thought leadership to the effective growth of HP client businesses. Previously, Mr. Miller was the chief technologist for HP General Motors account, where he led global initiatives, technology governance, and architecture and development and delivery information for one of the Hewlett Packard's largest clients, which General Motors was at one time. Mr. Miller joined HP with the company's acquisition from the Electronic Data Systems, EDS, where he was a chief architect for EDS General Motors Global Purchasing Supply process area, where he led both enterprise application transformation initiatives and enterprise architecture strategy to support business transformation initiatives and enterprise environments. Previously, he led key initiatives for technology planning and system development as an enterprise system architect, as a chief architect for GM's global sales and services and marketing organization, and he developed the security and portal architect to support GM business-to-business interface and automation dealers and partnership globally. Before joining EDS, Mr. Miller spent 9 years as a leading consultant and systems integrations firms, working with clients in manufacturing, retail, and distribution sectors. Mr. Miller is treasurer of the Alumni Affiliate Board of Governance of the University of Michigan Dearborn, and he's been active in multiple industry and technology conferences. He's earned his Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics at the University of Michigan and has completed multiple executive education courses at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. He was named the Alumni of the Year in 2011 from the University of Michigan College of Arts, Science, and Letters. Please welcome Mr. Jim Miller.
Great, thank you. I probably should have sent you the shorter version. About 10 seconds. Again, my name is Jim Miller. I work here in the Detroit area. My office is at the Renaissance Center on the river. To be honest with you, I spend not a whole lot of time there. I'm typically at client sites or at other HP locations, including HP Palo Alto in the Silicon Valley, HP in Texas, and then clients all over the U.S. This is a small enough group. I've brought some slides here. If you want to ask questions as we go through, please feel free to do so. If we get through all of the slides, great. If we don't, if we take a detour, we'll talk about whatever you'd like. I'm certainly willing to do that, either during the presentation, after, send me an email, call me, don't care. Talk about anything you'd like. Technology is something I like to talk about. I have other passions, and we may even get to some of those also. All right, let's just dive into this. Innovation. It's a word we throw around a lot. Our customers throw it out. You see it in the press all of the time. Everyone claims innovation is the path that will keep them in business or help them grow their business, but few people really understand what it means or how to approach it. In its simplest form, innovation is just introducing something new that has business benefit to you or to the company you work for. It's not as complicated as inventing something or patenting something. It's just bringing something new to the table, getting people excited about it and making a difference through that innovation. If you read through this, it says that communications will have sight and sound, and you can hear people while you're talking to them on the telephone. The screen can be used to view documents, photographs, reading things, and we'll be able to talk to anyone from anywhere on the planet. The statement was made in 1964.
Wow.
Sound familiar? We do this every day. We take this for granted, but this gentleman had the foresight to see this some 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. It's just amazing that some people have this ability of innovative thinking to look at what's going on in the world, looking at what technology is, and trying to get a vision of where we're going. And we'll talk about some of the things going on in the world today, some of the technology that's happening, and you can form your own opinions of where you think we'll end up. Earlier, we talked a little bit about the HP Museum in California. HP has a strong history of innovation, and you'll recognize a few things on here. If you have a few gray hairs, like I do, some of these will be very familiar. HP was key in the pocket calculator days. Like those calculators in 1972 were expensive. They're about $129. In 1972, that's a lot. Many people still have those today. I still do. We still sell them. That exact calculator you can buy on the website today. We had a production run because the demand was still high for it. The scientific calculator. We were a leader in that. Some other things that you might recognize. Rewritable DVD drives. That's an HP invention. Smart cooling on the servers in our data centers. The ability to turn servers on and off to manage energy usage and to manage heating and cooling. Some things you may not recognize, but are very interesting. Mag Cloud. Sounds a little strange, but HP has the ability to produce production quality magazines, like the one you have on the table there, in quantities of 1. So you can write your own magazine, upload it to the website, print 1, print 10, print 100, and they will look just like they're on the magazine rack in a store. High quality, glossy, at very, very reasonable prices. Some other things, the 3D photon engine. Sounds cool, sounds like a video game. But what it is HP is a leader in 3D technology. We have 3D video screens that are as large as this whole back wall. We can broadcast things like concerts in full 3D immersion. So if you're sitting where you're at today, you will feel like you are at that concert or sporting event. We are working on some other things in our labs around 3D technology that will bring 3D down to the form factor of a phone. We feel this is a leading area for us is 3D graphics, 3D presentation at very economical prices. In some instances today it can be very expensive, but we're working on ways to do that. As far as some other things, a little more recent, the Moonshot servers. We took the technology and processing power that's similar to the mobile phone and packaged it in a small form factor so that it could be used in data centers and servers. So we can literally put hundreds of Moonshot servers in a single rack. We process all of our websites. If you log on to hp.com, it's all run by Moonshot servers. They are very, very low cost and very economical from power usage, and heating and cooling also. They are about, probably politically incorrect, they're about the size of a pack of cigarettes. An entire server.
Wow.
Kind of amazing technology. Pretty cool stuff, and if you haven't figured it out, I kind of like cool stuff when it relates to technology, and we'll talk about a few other things. How does HP approach innovation? We look at it in multiple phases. In the more near term, our business units, like our printer unit or our server unit, look at innovation in the 0 to 18 month time frame to try and bring products to market that will sell immediately and meet the demands of our customers. On the other end of the scale, HP Labs, which is based in Silicon Valley, looks at things in the 5 to 20 year time frame and works on some technologies that you will see in that particular time frame. In the middle are the HP Fellows team, of which I'm part of. There are about 40 of us. We look at bridging the two, the near term to the long term, to help meet the demands of some of our customers. What are they asking for? What are their business problems? How can we address them with some of the technology that's coming down the road? The real positive side of that, and people think that I have one of the best jobs on the planet. I don't know that I agree with that, but I get to see a lot of the technology that's being worked on in this space, in the HP Lab space. Some pretty cool stuff. Some of it will never see the light of day. Some of it you'll see in the products that you use with your customers or the products you pick up at Best Buy or on the web. But some of it is pure invention and innovation. We tend to sell some of our patents and technologies to other companies. Sometimes the technology proves to be very innovative, but not necessarily appropriate for a given market, so we might not take it forward into production. One of the things that you may be familiar with if you've been into a Best Buy, we have a product called Instant Ink. What it is when you buy an HP printer and connect it to the internet, we will monitor your usage, we will monitor your ink cartridge levels, the patterns that you print things, the type of documents that you print, and we'll ensure that you have a cartridge in the mail 2 weeks prior to ever running out. So you don't have to be up at midnight when your kids have a report due the next day. So the grades should improve.
Okay.
Then when we look at some of the longer term perspective, we look at things that in the 5 to that 20 year time frame, there are some things that are very scarce and some things that are very abundant. And you have to balance between the two to tell where things are going to end up. And we'll talk about a few of those things. When you look at some of the things that are scarce, there's certainly a rising demand for resources. And working in the tech industry, you can figure out what some of those are. Data scientists, very short demand, or very short supply, I should say. And there are others in the tech industry that are just pretty hard to find at the moment. Economic rebalancing has changed the way the world economy functions and makes it a little more challenging to work in that economy, to move work to the different places where it's more appropriate. Security and privacy, you probably read about one security breach every week. That's not going to stop. I don't think they can all be prevented, but how you react to those security breaches, what you do about it, and how fast you can do it is what's really important. Aging population, that's going to change things a great deal. In the US and elsewhere, the older generation is growing by leaps and bounds, and that will put challenges on us from a technology perspective. And there are some key solutions in that area also that we can address. Rising costs of healthcare. If you look at your paycheck every year, your deductibles and the amount you pay for health insurance keeps going up. We don't see that slowing down, and that puts some pressures on the overall economy. Rising education costs, if you have anyone in college, those annual tuition bills go up about 3 to 6% every year, even if the economy's flat. And global warming, certainly an issue, and more focus on energy management, CO2 emissions, things of that nature. So these are some of the things from a scarcity perspective. But technology is in abundance and may help address some of those things that are relatively scarce in nature. New materials, nanotechnology is certainly driving things in the new material space. If you look at some of the technology in sports, it encompasses nanotechnology. Some of the hockey sticks, for instance, have nanotechnology built into the composites that make them up. Some of the protective gear that athletes wear has nanotechnology built into it to make it lighter, stronger. Software-defined infrastructure. This is something that we as HP are very high on. You used to have traditional one-purpose appliances like a firewall or other communications gear. You had to buy the hardware and the software all bundled together. You paid a significant amount for that from an upfront and maintenance fees. That's all changing. The functions of these one or unipurpose devices or single-purpose devices is now being moved to industry standard servers, Intel-based servers, so that you can operate them the same as you would any other Intel server. The software loads on it, and then the functionality is much higher. It reduces your total cost of ownership, ease of implementation, and ease of operations. Wearable computing, you'll see a few things in upcoming slides on wearable computing. I think this is going to move in leaps and bounds. 3D printing, one of my favorites. If you've done any research on 3D printing, it's used primarily for prototyping, rapid prototyping. It uses a resin-based composite, and will print things like a car part. It takes roughly 10 to 20 hours to print it, but it's all done from a digital signature. Yes?
On the 3D printing, just from the initial studying I've done, it's a lot of ramping up. You've got to have certain prerequisites to be able to do 3D printing in terms of different knowledge of softwares and stuff like that.
Yes and no. When you combine it with 3D scanning, you can take a part, for instance, put it in a 3D scanner. It will scan it from all angles and produce a file that can be used to replicate it in a 3D printer.
And actually around the corner, you can see some 3D printers set up by one of the entrepreneurs at TechTown. They do that rapid prototyping.
And we're seeing advances in this space where 3D printing can be used for real production parts, including metal parts. There are some high-end automobile manufacturers that are printing dashboard components and logos with titanium using 3D printer. Now they're very low volume, but they will, so if these cars are in the $500,000 to $1 million range, which I will never be able to afford, so that's okay. It will print, for instance, a dash panel that has your personalized name in it, things of that nature. And more recently, bioprinting using 3D. Human body parts, human tissues.
Really?
Yes. That is the latest advancement in this space. It's amazing stuff. The Internet of Things. Everything will be connected. Oh, yes?
One or two slides ago, you had a slide up of what looked like, it had a similar presentation of this slide, but it looked more like challenges. Things that were more challenging to society, like, for example, you showed global warming, security issues. This slide here. And compared to this last slide you showed of technological advances, do you see, or was there any plan, at least with respect to HP, in addressing these issues with the slide that came after that?
We have many projects and technologies that actually address these issues specifically. We are a major player in addressing global warming with some of the design of our servers and data centers. We have something called next generation data centers and servers that manage energy and CO2 emissions world class. Dramatically lowers the use of power and production of CO2 emissions. From a healthcare perspective, we have one of the largest healthcare practices in the world, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S., and we're doing a lot of things with our healthcare customers to help address some of the rising costs of healthcare using analytics and pattern matching and video in that particular space. Security and privacy is something that we are very proud of. We have a number of products in that space that are frankly used by the CIA and other government agencies from a security perspective. And I could go on and on. Yes, we are addressing these with some of our products and services. So we'll move ahead here. So how does this affect us? And what changes might we see? I think you'll see a shift in the IT industry, and you're seeing a lot of that now with cloud, from buying and building to leasing, or shifting from capital expense to operating expense. You see new energy models coming into play. We talked a great deal about 3D. IP and patent wars, intellectual property and patent wars. These little things have caused a war in the patent space. The number of lawsuits around the patents that go into these literally have hundreds of patents that go into the software around these. And the open source software in these are causing a great deal of issues in this particular space. The automation of normal. This is one that will cause a great deal of controversy. Some of the normal tasks that you do in business absolutely need to get automated over time. We cannot rely on labor in the long run, both from a quality and an expense perspective. You will see more and more being automated. In the IT world, system operations is where we're really seeing a great deal of automation, where you have system administrators and DBAs and a number of people that watch the server environment or advise on class and handling incidents. We are automating a great deal of those functions for our customers so that IT operations runs on its own. We use some artificial intelligence techniques to solve incidents automatically without human intervention. So this is an area you'll see a lot of change in that particular space. New education models I'll touch on in a subsequent slide. Water wars.
Yeah.
If you read the news, or if you just go out to California, water is going to be a big problem. And managing water and other natural resources are huge for us.
I was at this presentation, and they mentioned something that I had never heard of, which was climate refugees. I had never heard of that concept, in Michigan perhaps being a climate refugee haven.
We have the largest concentration of fresh water in the U.S., so it's a good place to live, even if you don't like winter. And technology will play a big role in our personal life. This concept of always connected, it's both good and bad. For many people, they cannot live without being connected through this device or some other device all of the time. Especially if you have kids, you'll see that they're always on here doing something. For me, being on a 5-hour plane ride to the West Coast is sometimes the best thing in the world because I'm not necessarily accessible all the time. So again, both good and bad come out of that. The acceleration of change it's something that is very difficult for IT departments and IT leaders to deal with. The amount of new technology that is hitting the market is just tremendous. And the ability to keep up with it personally and to keep your staff up to date with it, and frankly, to be able to implement it is a significant challenge. Data overload, I'll cover it in a future slide. We'll just touch on a few other of these. The blurring of work-life balance. In the IT industry, a huge problem. When do you turn it off? Many of us can't turn it off. You're always connected. If you're in IT operations, it's almost a 24-hour-a-day job. You're being paged because of some IT operations issue you need to dive in. When you're home, you can connect via virtual private network, VPN into the business environment, keep working. You could literally work all the time if you chose to do that, and you have to develop that work-life balance. The user interface is changing dramatically. Wearable technology is something that we feel as HP will accelerate dramatically. I've got a couple examples on here. Google Glass gets a lot of not so great press. Sometimes you'll see people at the mall or in the store who will have them on and they get flagged as a geek, or why are they wearing it? Are they just showing off? There are a lot of practical applications of that type of technology, and we're seeing it more and more in the business environment. People who work on computers or cars or things of that nature may have that type of wearable technology so they can see field instructions, diagrams, things of that nature. In the medical profession, I think you'll see more of that. On the far right here in the energy space, this is a bit more advanced than Google Glass, but it's essentially a visual representation through a much larger screen through one eye, and it takes some challenges to balance that. The watches haven't caught on so well. I know Samsung had a big hoopla about that particular technology. But other things that are wearable around the wrist, the heart monitors and the athletic, are really catching on. Everyone wants one of those. They can do a number of different things. And in the medical world, those type of wearable technology are really catching on. In the plant and manufacturing environment, we've gone from laptop PCs and desktop PCs to tablets are everywhere in the plant environment to manage shop floor control, manage quality. You're seeing hardened tablets used in that space. All different form factors, from a 7-inch tablet up to a 10-inch tablet used in the plant environment. The rise of the digital native. I'm going to put this correctly. 28 and younger is a line that we've drawn in the sand. If you're younger than 28, you don't know what it's like to not have some of these technologies. You've always been connected to the internet. You've always had a mobile phone. You've always had access to everything. It's hard for these digital natives to fathom what life was before this. How can it be possible to even live? Now, 28 is kind of an arbitrary number. You can move that one way or another, but if you look at your children, for instance, they don't know what it's like to not have it. You just look it up on the internet and find it. Google it. But when you look at the impact on the enterprise, things are very different. The attitude towards security has to change. Device management has to change. Information sharing has to change. And the digital natives will be near 100% of the work environment soon. So they have high expectations of how things should be and how work should take place. In the business environment, we all tend to use a lot of email. Email is our lifeblood. We do most of our work on email. If you look in the college campuses and some of the younger folks don't use email at all. They use social media of some sort, some form of texting and instant messaging, different collaboration software. And that is all working its way into the workplace. Depending on where you work, it's of different levels. At HP, we use it extensively for a number of different. I could not survive without some of this technology. Email alone will not allow me to do the job that I need to do in my space or communicate with my customers. So what do the digital natives expect? They want things to be authentic. They want it to be fresh, new content all the time. They want it to adapt as things change, and things change all of the time. Social is very key to surviving in that digital world. It needs to transform things. It needs to be immersive. And this is an area that we've spent a lot of time on. We're here in Detroit, and I spend a lot of time with the auto industry, and all of the major automobile manufacturers are looking at how a driver becomes immersed in their environment as they drive along the road. And the auto industry in particular, that blend of information technology with vehicle technology, the lines are becoming blurred. And while the IT departments were isolated from the vehicle development environment for many years, that's no longer the case. So the concept of a connected car or a connected vehicle, every manufacturer is working on it. It brings all of the components of IT together, including the equivalent of wearable technology. The car itself is a moving data center. It has currently about 30 processors and over 100 sensors in it.
Excuse me.
Yes?
What does the term authentic mean? Can you kind of define that versus, I mean, we know authentic versus counterfeit or knockoff, but what does that mean in this context?
It refers to the information that they want to access. They want to get at it, information quickly, and they want it to be authentic or real or accurate. And they expect it to be. When you look at the education model, you'll see a lot of changes in this particular space. The demand for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is tremendous. And frankly, we are not graduating enough people with skills in that particular area. And I spent a lot of time with the University of Michigan on trying to get people of different backgrounds into the STEM program. And we do a lot to help them out. We do coaching and mentoring. The demand there is so high, we can't get enough people to go through that particular program. When you look at how you learn, that's also changing. We're using gamification techniques to learn. So treat it like a game. In fact, some of the software behind learning has its roots in the gaming industry. And we're finding that many people learn faster and get more engaged when you use game technology from a learning perspective. It also makes them more competitive because they're scored and they may compete against others from a learning perspective. It's a pretty slick technique from a graphical perspective in that space also. Focused on creativity and not just learning facts. I know that when I was in school, the thing that I hated the most was read this, take a test, give me all of these facts back. I could do it. Does it mean I learned any of it? No. I just remembered it and memorized it.
Just for the test.
Just for the test. That won't cut it anymore. The demands for logical thinking, to be able to put things together, to collaborate with others, are very, very important in the educational environment. The demand for interpersonal skills is also increasing tremendously. Yes?
Jim, before you go
Sure.
to that part, there's a movie that's coming out in August called Lucy, and it stars Scarlett Johansson. So anyway, it's got something like almost 15 million views on YouTube already. And the central premise of the movie is that she's used as a drug mule, and the drugs get into her system, and then she develops this capability to use 100% of her brain. And so everybody knows 10% of your brain is basically what you're using now. So when you talk about this whole education piece for Hewlett-Packard and the work you do at University of Michigan, is there any type, well, I'll just say lucification of people? Are you working on software like that to help people use more than 10% of their brain?
We are not specifically focusing in that area, no. We're looking more at the trends from an education perspective and how they might affect the workforce and how they might affect people entering the workforce. But the technology around education, while we have some products in that space, it's not specifically a focus for us. Other than gamification, we do a great deal in that particular space.
So I don't know if you're going to get to it on another slide, but you mentioned earlier about how there's going to be a decline in work that humans do because it'll become computerized or automated. So is Hewlett-Packard, or do you know of anything that's working on helping people in the workforce stay ahead of the rising tide? Because what you're talking about is the continued obsolescence of people. And so I'm just, I mean, are you going to get to that in another slide?
I don't have it in any of the future slides, but as a company, that's something we focus on a great deal because of the changing technologies. So for instance, one way that we address it is we have over 1,300 online technical courses for our employees. They are all free. You can enroll and take them anytime you'd like, take them at home, keep your skills up to date. That is one way companies are focusing on it, is through that online type of education, which uses some of these techniques to engage the employees. So that's how we're approaching that. From other skills required in the workspace, everyone will have a basic set of skills, but that the interpersonal skills, the ability to work with others and work in a collaborative environment is very, very important. I do some talks on college campuses with business graduates and IT graduates, and they all ask, well, what should I focus on to get a job or be in the industry? And I always tell them you need to balance two sets of skills. You need to have the core IT skills and some set of business skills to go with it. Just having the IT alone is not enough to get by anymore. The highest demand individuals are those that can bring those two sets of skills together. There are some new business models. We talked in the hallway about micro-lending, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing. We're seeing a lot of that in the technology industry. Crowdsourcing for open source products and new software coming onto the market. And there are some new operating systems even coming onto the market that are completely crowdsourced. It's one way of engaging in a larger community, gathering the intellectual brain properties of many people for the end result. Virtual companies that exist for a very short time and very small purpose. They get it done, and they move on to something else. Versus the 30-year or 100-year companies who have been in business forever, very short-lived. We already talked about 3D printing. The changing attitude of consumers, we'll get to on a subsequent slide, but consumers are becoming more educated. When they walk in, they know what they want. They know more than the salespeople. Sometimes it's very difficult. Predictive management. Well, we'll talk about data and predictive management in a bit also.
Jim?
Yes.
Before you
we move on from that slide, can you touch on the abundant technology to solve a whole range of problem domains? And I'll give you kind of the example from my perspective that triggered that. I also work for HP. I have a client who's a government-sponsored agency. They have the most fabulous help desk I've ever encountered. If I have a problem with any piece of technology, whether it's software or hardware, in their entire domain, I make one phone call, and these people are just amazing in their ability to take care of it. And I know they're using some kind of knowledge base, but their ability to access that information, it can't just be the individuals. And so I'm wondering, okay, whole range of problem domains, what's that mean to HP? That's a type of problem domain that God, they got it going on. Is there something that we're particularly focused on within HP?
In that particular space, the answer is yes. We have a product suite called Autonomy. And Autonomy used to be known as just a search engine, but it's much more than that. It has some intelligence to bring multiple data sources together. It has greater than 400 different feeds of information and can provide information to those knowledge workers like the help desk you're talking about very, very quickly to solve problems. So it's not just a keyword type of search at all, but it has a lot of intelligence as to how it accesses the data and how it correlates them. It can also search through audio and video. So if someone else called in with the same problem, it can search audio files for that conversation. It can search presentations, full motion video, and still pictures to find solutions to those type of things. And it's being used in more than just that context. We can diverge a little bit here. I'll give you an example of something that I thought was really slick. The London subway, train tracks, can be a pretty dangerous environment. Too close to the tracks, things of that nature. The London subway, called the Tube, has full motion video cameras involved. And they use our software to video the entire environment. And through video analytics provided by HP, they can sense when a person is getting too close to the tracks and alert the security personnel to come take care of it. There's no one watching those videos. It's all done through video analytics. We also do some work for a harbor master in the city with the boats going back and forth, which would be what we have here at the Detroit River. It senses the motion of those boats in the harbor, all through video analytics, and can alert the harbor master to change direction of some of those boats to avoid any type of collision activities.
So that video analytics work, at least in the example of the Tube, would be real time.
It's real time. It's not after the fact. Real time analytics of video.
Wow.
I was just going to add, they need something like that for the aircraft industry.
Yes.
I was just about to ask, is there anything implements the aviation as far as like troubleshooting and problem solving and stuff like that HP is doing?
We do a lot with the telemetry that comes off of things like airplanes. So a typical airplane will produce about a terabyte of data in one flight. And through some of our analytics capabilities, we can look at patterns in that software and alert to problems with the plane itself, do some preventative maintenance type of activities. We have not got involved in crash avoidance from with airplanes or anything at this point.
I was at a presentation last night, and they were talking about this type of analytics being used on the cell phone. And if you're trying to text and drive, it won't let me.
We also do some indexing of still photographs so that a company can archive digitally all of their graphics and photographs and things of that nature and we will index certain portions of it so that you no longer have to attach keywords to those documents to do searches. So for instance, if you wanted to find my face, and I don't know why you ever would, but you could do a search with my face through all of these documents, and it will pull up the documents that have Jim Miller's face in it.
Well, they do that on NCIS.
Like a, right. I'll tell
Yeah,
them.
they take a person's picture and they put it in some type of search engine, some way to search it up somehow, and you can bring that person's picture. I mean,
It is real.
anything about that.
It is real, and we do that today for many of our customers.
I've done that to myself. I took a picture of myself and I put it in Google and my page came.
Is it
up.
mostly
I'm like,
used in
really?
public safety?
How did that?
Today, it's used mostly in public safety, but also it's used by things like car companies who want to digitally store some of their graphics of vehicles
Oh, right.
for many years, so they could search based on that.
Right.
It's pretty slick technology.
I hope that technology gets to the point where it can keep you from hitting potholes.
Well, we diverge a bit, but yes, let's talk about it.
Okay, we're at relevant now.
That's neat.
Or maybe if we can build that kind of technology, we can build roads that won't have potholes.
Well,
Let's touch on both of those. I get to work with a lot of automobile manufacturers on a global basis. And they have developed some technology and sensors that go in the vehicle that will sense the road conditions underneath to take evasive action. So it can sense water on the road of a certain depth. It can sense snow and ice and send signals to the vehicle to either warn you or take evasive action. That technology does exist. Potholes, I don't know about potholes if they've gotten to that far yet. Another company that we looked at, and I could probably send you the video, has developed some intelligent roadway so that, one, it doesn't generate potholes because it's a different type of surface, and it also has electronics in it that will absorb sunlight to melt some of the ice and snow on it so the water doesn't get underneath. Whether that will actually get deployed widely, I tend to think not because of the expense, but the technology is there to do that. Let's move ahead, and we can always touch on a few other things here. A lot of these trends lead to how you treat the workplace. It's not just a place to go to work anymore. It's a collaborative experience. We see some new careers based on some of these technologies. These new careers spring up rather quickly. The advent of a data scientist. 5 years ago, do you know anyone who was called a data scientist? No, you had DBAs. But today, that is one of the hottest professions around. Very complex, very intelligent people that do that, very high demand, a new career in that particular space. The video analytics that I talked about and being able to do that, those are new careers. We didn't do that type of analytics in the past.
Did we call them actuarials at one time? Is that-
An actuary, no, actually, an actuary looks at mathematical trends to predict things like insurance rates and failures and things of that nature. If you had actuarial skills as well as data skills, then it'd be really valuable person.
Okay.
And the two sometimes work together.
Okay.
So I have a person who's part of my extended team who is a data scientist, and we recently looked at cell phone traffic to try and predict cell phone patterns, usage patterns throughout the United States. As a person moves from one cell to the next, the towers they connect to, and provide that to some of our cell phone customers, like Sprint, Verizon, and AT&T. Something that's no news to you, but multiple jobs in a lifetime instead of a single career with a company. The average we're seeing is 7 to 10 jobs, but I think that's even going to get higher than that.
Wow.
Especially in the IT industry, that's changing. Very short-term contracts, we call them zero-hour contracts. So a contract with a person or an entity to do a specific job in a very short time frame, and it goes away. And many of those are brokered over the internet. Something that I spoke on earlier in the week, the CIO, that role is changing dramatically. It used to be about IT operations, managing a data center, managing applications development, keeping things running. That is changing significantly into a role where you manage IT services. And those services might come from a number of different entities. Some of those entities that are very popular now, Salesforce.com, to manage your sales environment. Workday to manage your HR environment. Both of those are SaaS providers, very high quality, high function environments. The role of the CIO then is to manage those contracts and frankly to interface with those. Another strong set of skills currently are interface skills. Developing interfaces to these providers, very, very important. The average company implementing Workday for their HR functions, 200 to 400 interfaces have to be developed. Significant amount of work, a lot of knowledge required on how to develop those interfaces. The new world, just some numbers. We won't go through all of these. There are about 7.6 or 8 billion people.
Wonder who counted them.
How many cell phones do you think there are?
3 times as many.
Companies or?
Individual cell phones.
If you go by that number, I say 90% of them.
Close. There's about 5.2 billion cell phones in the world today. That's amazing, just amazing.
Cell phones in use, which means there's another 5.2 billion sitting in people's doors.
Just riding away, collect the dust.
Here's another interesting fact. 5.2 billion people own cell phones. About 4.5 billion people own toothbrushes.
Yeah.
So the advent of this device
It's amazing.
is dramatically changing things. Some costs. System memory, 528 meg or a gig for $2. Amazing. Magnetic storage, 2 terabytes for $1. Is where things are going to be by 2020. A few weeks ago I went to Best Buy and bought external storage. 1 terabyte, $79. $2. And we predict the memory model is going to change significantly. Our labs are working on a concept called universal memory, where you don't have DRAM and magnetic storage in one set of storage. So you don't have to move data from storage into DRAM and back and forth, which is the amount of time that a computer normally spends most of its time is moving data back and forth. So we see that memory model as flattening, which will dramatically change the industry. And there are other companies working on that similar technology. Factoids are always interesting. We're going to skip by this one and talk about a little bit about the future and where we see some things going. And then what I'd like to do is talk about a few of my pet peeve technologies and then take some questions. There's something we call the explosion at the edge, and it's all around sensors and sensing. So if you look at different devices in the world, they are all gathering information through sensors, and all that information has to be correlated and processed together. If you look at a typical new vehicle, a new car being sold, it has greater than 100 sensors in it. And all that technology and all that data has to be brought together to make some decisions in that vehicle. And we see that even expanding over time. And some of the devices you use in your home will be saturated with sensors, and your home itself will have those sensors. More and more homes are becoming connected homes, so that your electrical usage and your natural gas usage all have sensors, and your usage patterns are being gathered and decisions being made on those. Those decisions can affect safety. They can, in the long term, reduce prices, manage energy more efficiently. Some of these things coming from an automotive perspective, by the year 2020, we believe that 70% of collisions on the roadways will be avoidable because of the technology in the vehicle. So many lives will be saved. The industry will change because you don't have that many collision parts and things of that nature, but the safety is more important. The advent of sensors and managing that sensor data will dramatically change. The way you move about the environment will also change. Parking garages. Many parking garages are embedding sensors into the parking spaces, so they can tell if a space has a car in it, how long that car has been in space, and publish available spaces, so that when you're driving someplace, you know whether you have a space there or not. It's done in a very rudimentary way today with the ticket going in and out, but that will change dramatically if you don't have that. Yes?
So with all this potential information being gathered, is it kind of just a database that's an abyss that would never run out of storage space? And then we're gathering so much more data now, and
not today. Eventually, we will get to a condition where the amount of storage is not relevant anymore. That you won't run out of storage. Today, it is a very limiting factor.
okay.
It's so much of a limiting factor today that we throw away a lot of data. We talked earlier about the telemetry coming off of a typical passenger jet. 80% of that never gets touched or accessed because the volume is so high. You can't store it for a long period of time, so you do some preliminary analytics on it, make some decisions, but you can't look at it all. In the future, you will be able to look at it all because there won't be limitations from a storage and memory perspective to be able to do that. But it's a great question. It is a severe limitation at the moment, even though it's expanding and the prices are going down.
Yeah, if that being the case and memory shrinking in terms of physical size and capacity increasing at the same time, even if you don't do anything with the information, that it would seem that the information might be stored for the purpose of analytics and certainly monitoring. I mean, like, one of the issues we've had with that recently reported missing airplane, there was a recording of data, but it wasn't recorded throughout the entire flight. Like, you know, it was like the information was recorded over an hour, 1 or 2 hours, and then would just record over what was previously. So, although there was a capacity to, I mean, certainly it seemed like there was the ability to record and save information and probably even report it to passing satellites, and so that plane probably should never have been lost.
I would tend to agree. I think the technology is here today that in a passenger jet like that, much more data could be recorded than is currently built into those planes. The black box, for instance, only records the last few minutes of a flight. It does not record the entire flight.
And that technology is very, very old.
Very, very.
So, I mean, we can really do a lot more to upgrade that system than what we put in those airplanes now.
Well, and the technology on the ground. Have you ever seen what an air traffic controller uses to manage flights?
Oh,
You might not fly again.
Part of that be due to the regional technology for that particular area?
It
You know
could
what I
be.
mean?
It could be.
It's not as advanced as it is in the United States or
and the change management aspect of it. And the ability to change it and keep the remainder of the infrastructure up to speed is very hard. When you
To
have
bring it all together.
to bring it all together and to integrate it, it's a significant
tough
challenge,
task.
so things don't change because of that.
Yeah, because some systems that they have in place already is just, I'm not gonna say that it's at optimal level, but it's just running good enough to where they don't have to worry about it. But if they do decide to upgrade it, then they would have to worry, well, is this gonna connect with this, is this gonna work with this, how are we gonna do this with this and stuff like that. All of that with being said about, especially about aviation, is just that if you want to do a certain thing, let's say if you want to track a plane with a certain device, and this device has been running this tracking for so long, if you want to integrate something new into it, maybe this new device won't track that certain plane. So the problem is that it's not that it's just old technology, it's still working, and they don't know how, or they don't want to connect to it just yet until they perfectly know it will work or when it will work.
Or they have to install two sets of technology in each plane, the old technology and the new, and run them in parallel for some period of time to phase out the old. So that you can't have part of the fleet on new technology and part of the fleet on old. There's a lot of integration issues to deal with.
And on top of that, with limited memory storage, where is all that memory gonna go? And then what about the rest of the data that needs to be recorded? So,
And our view, especially in the aviation industry, is that more of the processing and storage of the data will be on the plane itself. And not all of the data would be transmitted off board. Because it's simply not viable, given the amount of telemetry that comes off of a jet, for instance, to broadcast it all over satellite. That
May not all be accurate.
And you have latency and capacity issues, and you need to store it on the plane, do some analysis, and only feed off-board essential information.
So do you have any theories as to where that plane is?
I'll let him answer first.
Twilight Zone, I think that's where it's at.
Not in the middle.
Nah,
The recent analysis that was released, I tend to be on board with that. They had 10 individuals get together and they kind of concurred that it's in a different area, and they used some mathematical modeling to do that. My background is mathematics. I tend to believe what they're doing right now will get them closer, but it is, a needle in the haystack would be easy compared to what they have. So the range of where they're looking now is still greater than a 50-mile radius in the open ocean. That is just huge, huge, and at those depths, very difficult.
So you definitely think it went down? It wasn't hijacked or kidnapped?
I have no data. I have no data to support or refute that.
I myself, I don't remember most of it, but I'm gonna just try to piece together and summarize it really quickly. Maybe somebody can correct me on it. But they did a practice, right? And they remember the planes that flew, I think it was World War II or World War I, when they got lost over the sea and they so much flew into the Bermuda Triangle. Well, anyway, they supposedly went down near Hawaii, but they ended up in Florida. So even if you was to track the plane, where it went down so much, the problem is the current up under the sea. They probably drifted it somewhere different completely. Because if it can move a 50-ton ship in a 20-ton plane, then imagine what it can do to a capacity of a flight just with regular passengers. So we can track that plane all day while we want to, and we can find out, oh, it went down like 20 miles outside the sea. But the thing is, the current is going to take that plane, you may never find it.
I would tend to agree. We are at 5 after 8. I'm fine with moving forward. Or we can questions. I will
We
leave it up
still
to
have
you.
a good 30 minutes.
Okay. We'll keep going. So sensors, very important. The Internet of Things is a term, or IoT, you hear a great deal about in the press. Everything being connected. And I'm a very strong supporter of this. From an HP perspective, we can now connect all the printers in your home and manage that information. The data centers that we we supply technology for or actually run for our customers are all connected. And we manage things like proactive alerts for failing parts. We do energy management for our customers, so we can manage power usage. We can turn servers off or portions of servers off depending on usage patterns. And we can do all of that centrally. So we have connectivity and Internet of Things for our printers and our servers, but the subject itself is much more broader than that. We are doing things with our energy customers, for instance, to connect oil fields and wells out in the field, in the middle of nowhere, to manage the data coming off of those oil wells so that they can have less staff that are way out in the boonies because it's just too expensive to keep people out there, and manage consumption. We also have the ability to connect to exploration devices to help our energy customers be more efficient from an exploration of oil and gas. But as we talked about earlier, that's going to cause an explosion of data that will exceed some of the traditional capacity of the devices that we have today. Modeling and simulation are something that we see our customers getting into very heavily. They have a need to do things quickly, but they can't necessarily do them in the field. And I'll give you one example. We worked with a major energy company, oil and gas company. We put several thousand sensors out in a suspected oil field where they were doing some exploration. We had one sensor every 3 feet, and literally thousands of those sensors. We networked those all together. There was then an agent to cause disruption in the ground, an explosion. We gathered the data from those thousands of sensors and put it into a simulation model. And we could do a simulation of the geopatterns under the ground in full color, in full 3D, to over 3 miles deep. Just amazing stuff. So that the efficiency of looking for oil and gas gets improved dramatically, because now you can see things you couldn't before. You can simulate the patterns. Other areas that we do a lot of modeling and simulation is in the automotive space. We work with our automotive customers with high-performance compute environments, literally thousands of servers, to do crash simulations, material simulations, so that they don't have to do it real time, or they don't have to do it with actual equipment.
So the dummy's out of job.
I don't know that they'll ever be out of a job. There are a lot less of the crash dummies. But we put sensors on the crash dummies and analyze the movement of the crash dummies also.
So he still got the job.
So modeling and simulation is something that we see in very high demand at the moment, not just in the energy business or in the automotive business. We also do some modeling and simulation in the military environment. Can't give you any real examples there, but military customers, defense customers in the United States and United Kingdom is a very large business for HP. We do a lot for them.
Stuff with the tanks. Stuff with the tanks mostly.
No, all aspects. The Navy.
No, I'm thinking when you said military, I'm thinking you do some sort of thing with tanks.
With simulation of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they might encounter.
Excuse me,
Yes.
before you move on, I have a question about, are you working with law enforcement to battle cyber terror?
Some of our products are used in that type of environment, yes. We have two things. We have a set of products that can analyze security logs in high volumes from all different devices and predict patterns and do correlation of those to help prevent cyber attacks. And then we have a team of security scientists that will work with our customers to, one, analyze their environment, and also to help analyze some of the security attacks and help prevent them in the future. Some of our scientists in this space participate in the hackathons. And there's a big one annually every year. I think it's out in the Arizona desert where they all go out and they try and do some security hacking and testing, and we always participate in those, and it's a great deal of learning. So that's a space that we're very deep into. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we also do a lot of video analytics in the security space. And we do a lot of that for government. From an audio perspective, audio files, the NSA analyzing phone calls, our software is behind that.
You know what, I've got a tough question for you now. That was HP being an independent company with global clients, an American company, however, global reach. Can you say, I'm not going to ask you the yes or no, I said, can you say if you were working with any foreign governments in the area of cybersecurity that are not necessarily friendly to the U.S. government?
No, we are not. We have very strict rules about which government clients we will work with, and we typically do not work with governments that are not friendly to the U.S.
Okay.
We don't want to create a situation that would compromise our other clients to do that. So, no, we do not do that.
Okay.
We don't even sell hardware into those countries. So there are many countries where, when we cannot travel, we don't have a business entity, and we track very closely hardware movements, and we don't sell directly into those or through agents to those countries.
Okay.
All of us have to take the class every year,
Yeah, we do.
where we have to learn all of those rules so that we don't personally get involved in anything, because it is very tricky.
It is.
You can be liable.
We can personally be liable for that. So we do training every year. We have to sign off on the dotted line that we've taken the training and we understand how to manage those environments. Good question. Thanks. All right, let's move on here. We talked a great deal about data already. We're going to skip by this one. New consumers. This goes along a bit with the concept of the digital natives that we talked about earlier. Consumers have no tolerance for latency. They want everything right now. If you've got a 12 or 13-year-old at home, you know what I'm saying. I want it now. The information should be there now. And that's an expectation. And as these millennials move into the workforce, they have the same expectation. I need this information to do my job. I need it now. I don't want to wait 2 weeks for an analyst to develop it. So it's changing the technology that we have in the workplace to meet those demands. It has to be simple. I was at a conference earlier in the week and they talked about Amazon. Everybody uses Amazon. Well, most people use Amazon to order things. Do you ever take a training course on how to do that? No. www.amazon.com and you go order things. It's that simple to do. That's the expectation of functioning in a business environment. Our customers expect business software to work the same way. They don't want to go to a week's worth of training to learn how to do things. They want to log in and go do it.
And that would be restrictions.
Well, I think there's also in the business environment, and I see it daily, is even complex ideas, they have to be, and I'm not gonna say dumbed down, because that's not it, but you really have to be able to think about a complex, if you're working with something complex, you have to really be able to take a step back from it and explain it. And so that's a gift that our HP fellows have, all of them, not yourself included, you can do that. But we have to bring it day to day into the workplace too. It's not just about the interfaces that we deal with.
The worst you can do is alienate somebody by not explaining a concept that they can understand. Just a few other things here. Quality is expected, no failures. If you're using some of the new SaaS products like Salesforce.com or Workday, they never go down. How often does Amazon go down? How often does Google go down? Never. Never is a long time. It's not down, but close to never. And that's the expectation. IT should run all the time. It shouldn't be down for 3 hours because there was a server failure or someone went in and put the wrong command on the line. That's the expectation.
But I think we've all gotten to the point where we accept failures. I mean, driving over here, I was using Waze as an app, and it crashed, and I needed to restart it, and that happens all the time. And I think people have gotten a little bit tolerant of things that don't work or need to be restarted, or I would say in some cases people are more tolerant than they are in a business environment where everything really does have to be T's crossed and I's dotted.
You raise a valid point, and let me expand on that though. We have a team of fellows that's looking at a concept called just good enough. And that's an attitude in many consumers that all I need is something that's just good enough. I don't need the perfect thing. I don't want to pay for the perfect thing. Now, because Waze went down, it wasn't mission critical for what you're doing. So just good enough is just fine. And it's at the right price. And we're seeing that in the business environment also, where companies were paying millions of dollars to have a system that ran 99.999% of the time, all the time. And there's a huge IT staff supporting it, huge software expense to do that. And then they figure out, maybe I only need it 99.0% of the time. And I can cut my IT costs by 30%. That's just good enough. And we're seeing that across the board in a lot of environments, not all environments, but it's value to the price you pay. Great point.
Well, how'd you like to be flying cross-country and the pilot has to reboot the airplane?
That's a situation where it's not just good enough.
You need to get this point to work right now. I need it right now.
But if your Wi-Fi goes out on the plane while you're, it's just good enough.
On a consumer base though, like, perfect example, I'm not gonna say what company, but a certain gaming system I bought, I knew fresh offhand, like, it's just inside of me, and a couple of people I know, whenever something new comes out, they expect it to fail. Why? Because they're gonna update it anyway.
Yep.
And that happens with laptops, computers, not just gaming systems, some cell phones or something like that. But people have become not just as much as unintolerant, but some people actually become irritated with the fact that, oh, it's going to fail. And some companies look at that and go, okay, well, we have to produce something so good so that it'll last until the update.
It's a rush to market.
Yeah. Supply and demand is horrible, especially when it comes to consumers who be like, okay, look, I want my stuff to work perfect, and I don't want no excuses. But some companies cannot just function like that. Some things have to fail so they can see where the problem is from.
We're having some experience with some of our customers. We service many of the major cell phone carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, they're all our customers. And it used to be with mobile phone companies, just good enough was okay. So if you dropped a call here and there, it was fine, and people would just redial. That's changing. The attitude of the consumers are changing that. Now what happens if you get too many cell phone drops? What do?
Change.
You change.
Real quick.
The flip rate is killing the cell phone carriers, absolutely killing them.
Put AT&T on notice too.
So just good enough, flip to no, it's not good enough anymore, and that can change. And you have to be able to react to that with the technology that you have. All right, we'll move ahead here a little bit. We'll skip by the enterprise. That one's a bit complicated. Sustainability. The green movement is not going away. In fact, it's becoming more and more important. CO2 emissions are very important. Energy utilization, and in certain parts of the world, it's even more important than it is here in the States and has more focus. If you ever get a chance to go to Australia, the green movement there is shared by most people. Very, very important. Companies are very eco-friendly. It's in their business plans to do that. And what you see here in the States is more of a focus on, I will be eco-friendly if it's financially appropriate. But even that's changing. In Europe, recycling of, for instance, cars, entire cars is very important. And if you're an automobile manufacturer in Europe, you have to submit a bill of material that says which components can be recycled in that car and meet certain requirements to do that. And you're going to see that here in the U.S. also.
Are there certain countries that are more, I don't know, stringent on that?
Very much so, yes.
Which ones would it be, like Germany or?
Australia is very stringent on that. Germany is very stringent on that. Also, France is very stringent on that, much more than the U.S. is. But I see attitudes changing here in the U.S. also. Now, on the far end of the scale, China is not. And that's going to be a problem. We're even seeing some changing attitude there, but they're probably the most lenient when it comes to eco-friendly concept. But globally,
It's because of the population.
because of the financial side of things. The
But I mean,
demand.
there's so many people there. So,
Yeah.
we got to
Yeah, that's the whole China environment is very difficult to deal with at the moment from an ecological perspective. So just to finish up here, most people view change, whether it's technology change or change in the environment or changes in social attitudes, as something that comes like the evening, very slow to come in, nice sunset, things of that nature. I don't see it that way at all. I think it's
I was about to say, if you can go back to that slide, I can wake up and see that no, not that way. If I could buy a new product and see that other slide every time I buy it, I would be happy.
Things are changing way too fast. It's hard to adjust, it's hard to keep up, it's hard to integrate all of these new technologies. But on the flip side, there's a lot of opportunity to learn. There's a lot of opportunity for new careers. And it will continue to change in the IT space. Many people view IT as something that has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. I would tell you, based on what I've seen in Silicon Valley, you haven't seen nothing yet. There's a lot of new things coming that will dramatically change the way we all do work in this particular industry.
Like what?
Better, faster memory, new memory models, high-density computing, and from a software perspective, you'll see some significant changes from a software perspective on how you develop systems and piece those systems together. It will drive the demand for integration skills out.
So interfacing will be a lot faster.
Yes.
And part of the cloud technology of today is playing into that, right?
The cloud technology is driving a lot of things. It makes things easier for many companies that the price of entry becomes much lower to get involved in new technologies.
Not to go back, but that Mad Cloud she was talking about, that's a program that has to be purchased or?
Nope. You can log on and do it online.
Oh,
So you develop the magazine through Photoshop or something along those lines, and then you can upload it and determine the quantities that you want, the quality that you want, but it will produce full quality type of magazines. The lunchroom magazine, if you wanted to do that. It's pretty slick stuff.
I got 2 questions, and they're
Sure.
about this far apart.
Yep, I have no more slides, so we can go wherever you'd like.
All right, so you touched on the STEM program with reaching or having a lack of, I guess, engagement from younger generations coming. So as a company, would you say you're doing all you possibly can do to engage and get those kids interested in these opportunities that are being created?
We have a number of programs where we reach out to educational institutions to try and get more students engaged in that space, yes. To say we're doing all we can, that's kind of a judgment call, but we're doing a great deal in that space to promote that because we as a company need graduates with STEM capabilities. It's absolutely critical to where we're going.
Okay.
And if you look at the educational statistics comparing the US to other countries, you'll find that we've got some challenges there.
Very big challenges.
Where from a corporate perspective, we even have to look to those talents from other parts of the world.
Well, the other question I have, I'm a big Star Trek person.
Okay.
Usually when you watch the sci-fi movies, shows, etc., they're kind of telling you the writing on the wall, what's
You got
coming
it.
down the line.
You got it.
And so the question is, you talked about simulations, models, without actually going out and physically doing it. Do you foresee, because I'm sure it is being looked at, because we've seen it in sci-fi, potential holodecks that can reform matter or regenerate images and patterns and possibly have a simulated live model?
Okay, let me answer that question in a number of ways. Star Trek terms. Do I think we'll see a transporter? No. Do I think we'll see 3D holographic modeling and simulation? The answer is yes, because I have seen it. In very small form factor, 1 inch high, full holographic images. To get it to a much larger factor, there are some real challenges with doing that, and the quality of the holographic images is kind of weak, but yes, we will get to full 3D holographic imaging to do modeling, yeah. I'm convinced of that.
I may not have seen it as much as in depth as you have, but I've seen this video on YouTube where these two guys in two completely different countries, and I don't know exactly which one they were, but they had this program to where they had a little pad, right? And if I was to take this can and I put it on the pad and I move it, the guy in the other country, his pad would these little things would form up in the shape of the can. And if he moves it, the can moves in the other country too. So with that being, I'm like you, I want to see the advancement of that just comes to life, because not only just in a way of teaching, because that can be implemented into the school districts, but also in the workplace, so far as when you got to do presentations or you got to do something to where two different offices for the same company got to present something to each other, and they want to show a little bit more in depth than just video or picture. Like, hey, look, we got this model, take a look at it, bam, there it goes. So yeah, it works a lot, and I want to see the advancement of it too. That's sweet.
There's one other technology that HP has worked on that I didn't mention earlier, but I'll give you a couple minutes on it, and then we can do questions or whatever you'd like to do. It's called indoor positioning technology. Geo-positioning, but indoor. So if you install wireless routers, which most of us have, in a building, the HP wireless routers can sense position and triangulate people with Wi-Fi devices and take action based on that. So for instance, they triangulate me walking up to this screen, some action could take place. So in a retail environment, as you approach the display of bandsaws, it can start a video personalized to you. Or can send you a coupon to your phone, personalized to you, based on your position inside of the building. It can also do some traffic management of people in the building, but you have to have some form of Wi-Fi device, and you have to opt in to do that. But we're seeing a lot of interest from some customers on that sort of thing, because it can take some inherent action based on where you're at. And it is accurate to within 3 feet, which is pretty close.
Wow.
Pretty close. Pretty cool stuff.
So you could even do practical stuff like turn the lights on, or if you have radiant heat in the flooring, just heat the cubes where the people are, or the office.
Yeah, you could do that. You can do that with sensors also.
Yeah.
But this is a way of triggering an IT system to do something also, based on the location that you're in. And it can do a lot of personalization based on the device that you have. So some pretty cool stuff. With that, that's the end of the formal presentation. Be glad to take questions or anything you'd like to do. And thanks for having me. I always enjoy talking about one of my passions here. If you have additional questions or just want to talk, If you have my contact information, just feel free to get a hold of me.
Oh, that's right.
Pet peeve is probably the wrong term. There are some technologies. There are some technologies that I'm really high on. That indoor positioning is one of them. I'm definitely really high on that. 3D printing. I just think that the potential there is, we haven't even come close to tapping the potential of what 3D printing can do for you. Some of the other ones I already touched on, the video analytics. I am just amazed at what we can do with real-time, full-motion video and the analytics that we can apply and take action based on those analytics is just tremendous. Some pretty cool stuff there. From an infrastructure perspective, the software-defined networking and network function virtualization, you've probably heard that NFV term thrown out. We are a leader in that particular technology and working with many companies to implement it today, and it will dramatically change the cost footprint and functional footprint of many of our telecommunications carriers. So those are some of the things that I'm very high on.
What about quantum computing?
We actually have a lab working on some things in quantum computing. It's not my area of expertise, so I can't talk in depth on it. But in the area of computing, there is one technology that we are doing a great deal of work on. It's photon computing. So many of the devices you buy today for the data center are interconnected by fiber optic cables. Pretty common. Even your DVD unit at home, you can connect fiber optics into your TV. We're taking that to a smaller level. Fiber optics on the motherboards to connect chips within the motherboards.
What about heat?
It eliminates the heat because you no longer have copper signals between them. The heat footprint of those motherboards tremendously reduced by using photon communications.
That's major.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Computer room meetings, mad irritation. So what is HP doing for the gaming industry?
Actually, that's not an industry that we do a lot in. We use some of the technology from it, but we're not heavy into the gaming side of things, unfortunately.
What about drones?
Drones, I didn't talk about drones. We see a lot of applicability of drones in the consumer space. Personal drones. And they're being used today, you may not know it. One area that is really using it a lot is real estate. Many real estate companies are taking personal drones with a camera, doing a flyover of a property, so that when you want to look at the property, you don't have to go there anymore. You can get 3D views from all different angles, all generated by drone technology.
I want to get one to follow my husband.
Another industry.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch that one.
It's bad enough they got TV shows with catfish and stuff like that.
You gotta get a drone for that.
Jim, what about futurists? Are there any futurists that you follow?
I don't follow any particular because we have some futurists on our staff.
Well, that's
I just pick up the
that's
phone
a
and-
good political answer. You running for office next?
I'd like to. No, that's not for me.
What about materials?
We look at some of the materials for our customers. In automotive, we're looking at a lot of things there. Lightweight composite materials and materials based on nanotechnology are things that we've gotten involved in. Is there a specific set of materials?
No, that was it. What, anything that takes our energy and reuses it through the materials?
From an energy reuse, let me talk about our Wynyard data center. We have a data center in Wynyard, which is in the United Kingdom. And it is one of the most advanced data centers in the world from an energy management perspective. We do all of the cooling through underground cooling. So we pump the fluids underground, bring them back into the data center. The data center has no windows. It has hot aisles and cold aisles to manage cooling on an aisle by aisle basis. Cooling is all done through vents vertically, so we don't air condition the whole facility, so we don't waste money. So very high-tech energy management in our Wynyard data center. And there may be some videos on YouTube that you can.
How you spell it?
W-Y-N-A-R-D.
Oh, I had one more question. What was it, last week, they had a big Brookings Institute press conference about innovation districts. Do you have any opinion about those?
I think it's important to have innovative resources and companies located close together. I think the synergies for doing that are tremendous. The days of locating a company way out in the suburbs by itself on a private campus, we see that changing a great deal. People coming together more closely to share those innovations. That's one of the reasons Silicon Valley is as advanced as it is. Everyone's very close together. The talent is close together. A lot of sharing. I'm very high on those type of innovation districts. I'm hoping we get more of them here in the Detroit area. I think it would be very valuable for talent in the area, for career management, and to attract more young people into the environment.
We're standing in one right now.
Good. Good.
Okay, so with that, was there any other questions? I want to take the last couple of questions. Jim, on behalf of the entire BDPA team and all of our guests that were here tonight, I'm sure everyone enjoyed you just as much as I did. It's been a great presentation, and we really appreciate you making the effort to come out here tonight. So let's give him a hand. Certificate of appreciation to you from our president and our organization.
Great, thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
If you ever want to talk about my other passions, which are Michigan football.
You might get a reputation about that afterwards. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Doss. I'm responsible for programs and professional development. And our team puts together events like this, the information exchange and other activities that you'll see throughout the year. I know I've seen several of you at a number of our events, and we hope that you will continue to support us for our events in the future. During the summer months of July and August, we do not have our monthly information exchange. So we hope to see you back again in September. And you'll look out for information from us online, and you do with the Cliff handles a lot of the things that you see out here. I'm going to ask, Beverly, I know I said I was going to do it differently, but I'm going to ask you to come up, and I want to make sure we just go around and catch who's in the room before we leave. I know I've got to start packing up some things. Last call on the food also, so please, the more you eat, the less I have to take back and pack up, so please do that. But I wanted to go around and make sure we knew who everyone was. So I'm going to start down on this end.
Okay.
I'm going to swap out and have Beverly come up, and I'm going to...
Okay. This is an opportunity to get to know who's here.
That's
and,
right.
and hopefully you guys have a better way to network. You can just tell us your name and how you found out about the meeting tonight.
My name is Donna Black, and I used to work with Cliff staff.
I'm Mark Sobolski, and I'm president of a local organization called Society for Information Management. And that's where I met Beverly at there was a conference last month called Midwest Technology Leaders. And so we were talking a couple of times about, you know, what your organization does, and maybe there's some complementary kinds of things that we can do. So I wanted to make sure I came and attended one of the meetings.
Thanks for coming on.
Sure. My name is John Boyd. I'm a former graduate student at UD Mercy. I used to be a member of BDPA, and I'm a member of another IT group, Mobile Monday. And as I look around the room, I see another face that's also a member there.
Okay. Well, hope that you become a member back at BDPA. We'd love to have you back.
I'm also a former student of William Bowman.
Okay. Fantastic.
Gary Johnson, I'm a member of BDPA, and I know Beverly from church. She usually keeps me up on the meetings when they're scheduled, so.
I'm Lorraine Stewart-David. I'm the National VP of Finance for the Black Data Processing. I've also been a member of the Detroit chapter since, don't tell my age, 92.
Let's go this way.
Okay. My name is E. Hudson. I've recently returned to Black Data Processing Associates. I took a hiatus for years. And needless to say, I haven't gotten out of technology. I've been involved with information technology since 1983. So I've been involved with BDPA since, I would say 1986. Whether that's been in Colorado Springs, the building disk drives, or even here in Detroit. So now that I have returned, I'm now they didn't, you know, it's not like when you come back, they just allow you to come back and be a member, right? They immediately put you to work, okay? So the first thing I'm going to share with you is what my role is, because that's what I've been asked to do, right? I'm the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, and if you want to know what that's all about, see me. I'll hang around, okay? I won't burn any time for that, but what I will say is I looked on the list here and I saw a number of you that were not members. We're asking you to become members. I hope I'm not taking any thunder from our president, but we need you. There's a number of competing organizations that are out there, and Black Data Processing Associates is indeed unique. Don't have to be black, obviously, to be a part of the organization, but there's plenty of work to be done, and even more importantly, there are some exceptionally exciting opportunities, not only for this organization, but also for you personally, because we truly believe that in BDPA, you go from the classroom to the boardroom.
Somebody filming this.
Podcast will be up either tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you, Ed. I just want to add that in Ed's role, he is responsible for entrepreneurship, and he's working throughout the Detroit area with other organizations to promote entrepreneurship opportunities and connect the dots. So if you're interested in that, definitely want to see him. He's right now working on building a team. So, William,
Sure. Right.
You got a tripod right there.
Yeah, since I just mentioned that actually is going to a podcast either tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, well, like you guys already know, pretty much William Bowen, working IT full-time, part-time professor. Most of you guys already know me, and while I'm here, I might as well let you guys all know that NSBE is having their meeting tomorrow afternoon at 5:30 p.m. at Engineering Society of Detroit, and hopefully that made the broadcast and the podcast. And a lot of people see my face enough as it is, so put it to somebody else.
Cliff Sammy Jr., I'm the Vice President of Technology Automation, and I like to say I'm in charge of the geeks. So all of you who want to get in technology, let me know what you want us to present, bring in, or play with. I'm looking for ideas. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, so just Google my name. I'm out there. My email's out there too, so let me know what you guys are looking for, because there's a lot of technology we can play with. Like, so if you want to learn more about these 3D printers, I can definitely find someone to show us how that operates, because even though you think, well, is that computer related? Of course it is. It's run by software. And basically, you know, software rules the world today. So there's a lot of exciting things that we can get into, but I need to know what you want to do. Because there's things I do and you go like, whoa, that's too geeky. I don't want to go that far. So let me know how far you want to go. Again, Cliff Sanders Jr., Vice President of Technology Automation. And always looking for people to give me a hand also, like on the website. Like, so trying to get into video and add more technology into BDPA.
Hi, so I guess I'm one of the people who's putting no as a member. I'm Mike Wimberly, and I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I'm I'm Walter Gilbert. I think I'm the youngest human soul in the room at the moment. I found out about this meeting tonight because Ms. Beverly is my aunt, and I expressed to her my interest in technology. I've pretty much been a geek, not so much as all my life, but I've always had an interest in technology. I was in the military for 3 years. I was a power generator engineer repair while I was there, and from there I just went to work, just random jobs. I was taking care of family at one point in time, and now I worked in the oil fields, but ever since I've been back to Detroit, I've been looking more into technology and what I can contribute to my fellow humans as we can, you know, help each other out, because technology, that's what it should be used for, instead of just something to just destroy or take away from us. So that's why I wanted to come to this meeting tonight, and I'm pretty happy that I did come, because I found a lot more than just what you see on the outside or what you see on the social media or just the TV today about Detroit. Because I'm one of the young up-and-comings of Detroit, and the thing is that it's my age group that has to get more involved so that we can see more and do more instead of just hear more about Detroit.
Very good.
My name's Susan Nord. I'm a project and program manager for Hewlett-Packard. I've worked with Jim in the past. I've worked with Beverly in the past, and that's how I found out about this meeting tonight. And I'm also very pleased that I came here tonight. I take pride in my ability to look at large amounts of data and to put them into ideas, concepts, and action, which Jim talked to us about tonight, that benefit my clients. And so I was really inspired not only by Jim's presentation tonight, but the contributions of our audience. So thank you.
I'm David Slomek. I'm going to be starting an IT internship next week on Wednesday, and I'm going to be going to Michigan State for computer science in the fall.
He is doing an internship with Trinity Health, one of our sponsors.
Victory for MSU.
Excuse me?
Victory for MSU.
Detroit Mercy.
You get that on video.
I'm Tina Hughes, and I'm with GE, specifically the new IT center that opened about 5 years ago in Van Buren Township. And we've been a supporter and a sponsor of BDPA, especially since moving to the area. So I'm with the recruiting department there. So, you know, we've been attending events periodically throughout the last several years. So attended a couple conferences, y'all have come out and support, and just let you know we're still here. Some people who don't know we're out there, but it's really boonies. But the whole IT center, it's an IT center, and hopefully very soon advanced manufacturing to be added to that. So just glad to be here.
Great, glad to have you here.
My name is Alfred Doss II. I'm here because I've heard of this meeting and because his mom dragged me. How did you take my son? He's a student at Wayne State, but he's not taking any classes this summer, so I dragged him out to help me because my usual teammates had helped tonight, everybody had some other commitments, so. Thank you.
Yes, we all thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's a good meeting tonight, thank you.
You did.
You did it.
Good day, everybody.
You started. Okay, then we're on to, okay, fantastic. Okay, I just have a couple announcements, and then we can really wrap this up. BDPA is a national organization. We were founded in 1975. The Detroit chapter was founded about 5 years after that. And we are about 30 years old, and we are a member-based organization, so we hope that you will take a closer look and become a member of the Detroit chapter. We also have on a national level, because we are a national organization, we've got 44 chapters across the United States. We have a national conference that comes every year. This year will be August the 6th through the 9th, 4th through the 9th? Yeah, 4th through the 11th, and it will be in Indianapolis. At that national conference, We will have our, that's where our high school computer competition teams that have been working and studying since January will be competing against about 23, 24 other teams from across the country. We will also have other, we'll have workshops, personal development workshops. As a matter of fact, I will be a presenter this year at the national conference. I will be presenting Agile is an Agile workshop. Agile is not
Scrum.
Scrum. Thank you. Agile is not Scrum, but Scrum is Agile. So that will be the title of my workshop. So that will be another reason why you should come to the conference. Also, one of the most exciting things about our conference is that for 2 days, we have a career fair. And we have anywhere from 30 to 40 hiring companies, top Fortune 500 companies like HP and like GE that will be there at that career fair looking for folks to fill positions. I don't know of any other organization or any other career fair in the United States where you can get all these companies in one place for 2 days. And it's free to attend the career fair. So it's a drive from here, 5 hours. If you're looking for opportunities, if for no other reason, come on down. Just do the weekend, come down, interview all day Saturday, drive back on Sunday. You only spend 1 day. But if that's the only thing you can, do to come to the conference, feel free to do that. So I would like to tell you about that. And so we're looking forward to that activity. As Sharon said, we are done for the rest of this summer. We will reconvene in September. And I know that we will be having some more HP technology because I work for HP and we like to show off. So stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you come back for the rest of the events throughout the year, for the rest of the year. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say right now.
I got something I want to add, and that is, if you become a member, that's bdpa.org. Now, of course, we'd love to take your money tonight, but, normally we do electronic commerce, right? So you would go out to bdpa.org. One of the incentives for becoming a member is that they're running a special till the end of the month for the national conference. So you'll be eligible for that discount if you become a member before
The 30th.
the 30th.
Absolutely. So appreciate everyone coming out. There's still a few more refreshments out. Feel free to help yourself. Introduce yourselves around. You've heard, now you know who's in the room. So make sure that you do those additional introductions about your life desires.